Which one sounds more personal? Sorry or I am sorry? When you put the I am in front of it, it certainly sounds a bit more sincere, doesn't it? But is this really the best way to apologize? I am sorry? Well, there's many, many different ways we can apologize. It often has to do with not just the words that we're saying, but also maybe our body gestures as well, the things that we're saying. But also we have to look at apologizing without stipulations. When you say, I am sorry, but ... and you say a bunch of stuff after that, that basically nullifies your apology, because at that point it's like, what is the purpose of you apologizing when you're going to put a but at the end of it? Especially if it's a but that is basically counteracting the other person's feelings or views on the situation. So if they express to you that you've hurt them in some way, maybe you just quickly say, oh, I'm sorry, but you did this, you did that. You're basically saying, I'm not sorry at all. Here's the problems. You have the problem and you're not dealing with these problems, so you're the one to blame. Don't you dare put that negativity upon me because you're not able to see what you did wrong. So the language that you use is you have to be extremely careful with the language that you use if you want to get your apology across appropriately. So sure, we can say sorry. Sorry sounds fine, I suppose. I am sorry sounds a bit more personal. But the moment you add a but at the end of that, it completely nullifies it entirely. So what are some things you can say? Well, maybe you can say something along the lines of, I am sorry. It is awful what I did. I did not realize just how bad it was going to hurt you. I will never do that again. And I truly appreciate your time, your energy, your way of whatever it is that is causing the problem. That you show appreciation for the other person, that you show a genuine feeling of you being sorry, and then you not putting stipulations upon it. You not saying but in any sort of way. Even if you say but when it comes to you saying something about yourself, sure, you can say, oh, I'm sorry, but basically you're the problem here. That is extremely bad, extremely bad. But also, it's also bad when you say, I'm sorry, but I was... So if we use the example that we talked about earlier regarding you being late all the time. Perhaps you are someone who's late all the time. Oh, I'm sorry, but I woke up late. I'm running behind schedule. These are excuses. You're basically doing a quick apology and then putting excuses in there just to justify the reasons why you are late, as opposed to saying, oh, I am truly sorry. I did not realize, something along the lines, I guess you could say. Let's say, if you're late and you want to genuinely apologize, you would say, oh, I am deeply sorry. I did not value your time. I should value your time more. It's like, I am truly sorry for what I did. I deeply apologize. Things along those lines that really show that you care. Because guess what? When you add but at the end of that and start making excuses, or you start throwing it to the other person, it basically says, I don't really care. I don't really care about you. I got more important things to worry about. I'm going to make excuses as to why I'm late, why I did this bad thing. Or you're just going to throw it back up at the other person. You can't do that. You cannot do that at all. Now, of course, I'm sorry. It's probably the most common way, I guess, to say that you apologize, or I apologize, I'm sorry. There's the no excuse for what I've done. Things along those lines, I guess you could say when it comes to apologizing. And there's a variety of different ways you can say it, but I guess when it comes to like the English language, that tends to be what you usually say. Now, of course, other cultures have different ways of saying sorry or showing politeness, things along those lines. And I just think about like the Japanese language, where there's many, many different ways you can apologize, that you can show that you're truly sorry about something, or even showing that you're grateful for something. There's many, many different ways you can go about this. So let me actually just share with you some of them to you, because this is a very different culture. So I think if we view it from a different culture's perspective, we can see how, at least in the English language, or maybe things along the way that we may behave and we may act, making excuses, this sort of stuff, we will get a better understanding, like, okay, I see where I am wrong about some of this. Because when you actually drill down a little bit deeper, it actually is quite more in depth with other cultures and other languages, and for a Japanese, for example. So I don't know all different cultures of how they say that they're sorry, or if there's different hierarchy with the words that you use. I just know Japanese specifically. So why don't we briefly talk about here? So look, I have a bunch of words here. You probably cannot read it, or maybe you can if you're a Japanese pro, I don't know. But these are just different ways, a few different ways that you would say sorry on, or apologize under different contexts. So we have the first one here, which is gomen or gomennasai, depending on the level of politeness. This is basically a more casual way of saying that you're sorry about something. Okay, so this is maybe perhaps not something you would, maybe this would be something that you would use for like friends or whatever, and then you would use like a more polite version for something a bit more meaningful. And yeah, the next one here, sumimasen, which is more like it could be like a deeper apology, or it could be also that, excuse me, that is sort of thing. So there's different ways you can use that under different contexts. Then you have the next one here, shitsurei shimasu. This particular one here, it can mean something very similar to sumimasen, basically excuse me, but it also could mean something along the lines of that you've done something bad, that something is not good that you've done, so you want to apologize for those things. And then the last one here, and there's two different ones here, much like the first one, because there's different levels of politeness here. You have moshiwake arimasen or moshiwake gozaimasen, depending on the level of politeness you want to use here. And this is basically saying, I was very bad. There's no excuse for what I have done wrong. This is the apology here. So these are the different ways that you would go about saying these things in the Japanese language. So as you can see, there's like different levels of how you would say sorry. Of course, you can try to express that in words, but they have specific words here that mean that. So, gomen, sumimasen, shitsurei shimasu, or moshiwake arimasen. So there's different ways you can go about that. Now, in addition, what else the Japanese language has, it also has different levels of bowing as well that you would do for different situations. So here's the different types of bows that we have here. Here they are. So we have the first one here, the Eshaku bow, which is like a 15-degree bow. So this is maybe something a little bit light that you would do. Then you have the next one here, the Keidei, which is a 30-degree bow. This is a bit more serious, something you would do when you're apologizing, or perhaps something a bit more serious. Then the third one here, the 45-degree one, is the Saikeidei. This one is certainly even more serious than the two prior ones. And then you probably have the most serious one here. This is when you've done something really, really, really bad. This is the Dogeza bow. So this is when you're basically on the floor. So these sort of things you don't see, obviously, in American culture and that sort of stuff, but it shows you from a different culture's perspective the way that they may value politeness, their response to appropriate apology and perhaps maybe changing some of that. Of course, you know, not everyone's going to be like that, but that's like one of the foundations of the culture. So I just wanted to mention that because it is very, very interesting. It really is, because when you're actually viewing it from different cultures, then maybe you can have more respect for yourself and the other people that you're interacting with, so that you're not making the same mistakes again and again and again, that you're able to admit that you've done something wrong and actually change your ways and use the appropriate language. So all of these things are very, very important.